Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Pondio Commentary. This is a quickie. This is a review. I just got done watching the feature-length documentary, George A. Romero's Resident Evil. This is a documentary made by Brandon Salisbury, and it just came out yesterday on digital. You can get it on like Apple and YouTube and Fandango and a number of places. And if you happen to be a fan of Romero or a fan of movie history or a fan of Resident Evil or a fan of all three or a multitude of different genres and whatever with Hollywood, this movie is an absolute love letter to George Romero, his legacy, his impact on the community, on the horror film just genre in general, as well as survival horror video games. And it ultimately kind of ends with how Hollywood simply doesn't understand the art and how they're just about the money. And that is probably one of the biggest takeaways from this documentary. I mean, I will just quickly kind of criticize a couple little things. One, there's one guy who he keeps rustling his clothing. They could have probably cleaned that up a little bit. I think they probably tried, but it was pretty bad. And he was a good interviewer, or interviewee, so I understand why they didn't want to do that. But anyway, there's that, and I could say that it was a tad long. It was an hour and 50 minutes. It probably could have been maybe closer to like 90 minutes, maybe, rather than going all that way. But other than that, it was a well done documentary talking about everything involving Constantin Films and their Resident Evil adaptation. What we have to remember about this is how badly Hollywood doesn't understand it when it comes to adaptations, because adaptations are simply that, right? How many times have you watched a movie or a TV show that's an adaptation of a book or a game or a graphic novel or a comic book or a Reddit post or a Twitter thread or whatever, and it ends up being something that is like, not even really close enough to what you envisioned it or what you at least thought like the bare minimum would be. And ultimately, Resident Evil was that. It was very much that for Constantin Films. This is a game that was inspired by Night of the Living Dead, a movie that, again, turned the entire horror genre on its ear, absolutely talking about social commentary in regards to race relations during the civil rights movement. I mean, all of that stuff. And they wanted, this being Capcom, when they sold the rights to the game, for the movie to Constantin Films, they had recommended George Romero to direct the Resident Evil 2 live action trailer, which I didn't know starred Brad Renfro. I didn't know that at all. That was a new one on me. And then from there, there were the talks of them wanting to have Romero do the movie. And he ultimately signed the deal. And he was working on it, and he was adapting it to be more like the game. Sure, there were things that were changed. And things that if they were changed, like let's say today, you would have had it probably called woke. The chuds would have attacked it because of the changing of Chris Redfield. But the reason why they were changing it, why Romero wanted Redfield changed in the way that he did, made sense given the type of character work and social commentary that Romero puts in all of his films. But much like Land of the Dead, this was a situation where there was way too much production oversight, right? The heads of the studio in this case didn't want a violent movie. He didn't want a violent movie. He wanted something that was like on the edge of violence. But when you have the godfather of the living dead, at the helm of this project, a man who is known for basking and bathing in the ultra violent, what the fuck are you thinking? That's my question. But they ultimately decided to not work with George, to go another direction. And then Paul W.S. Anderson came on in with his, Resident Evil-esque idea. And they were able to, get the people from Constantin Films on board. And they were able to go and make that movie. And don't get me wrong, the 2002 Resident Evil I love it. I do. But I completely understand now more than ever the differences. I like Resident Evil, the games, but like I've never been like a super diehard fan. So I enjoyed the adaptation of the movie, knowing that they changed quite a bit. But after watching this documentary and going like, yeah, man, there's a lot there that like Romero would have kind of kept intact, really playing up what Umbrella was, giving us the characters, giving us the setting, keeping with the gore, the ultra violence, all of these things. Man, it sounds pretty goddamn awesome. And I know people out there are going to disagree with this sentiment that I'm going to say right now, but hear me out. This script that is available at the George A. Romero archive in Pittsburgh at a college. I forget which college. Is it Carnegie Mellon? Maybe. They mentioned it in the movie, but I kind of forgot. This would be something for a fan to get a hold of and to adapt using artificial intelligence, using AI video. I know people are going to look at me and go, what? And I'll tell you this right now. Based upon what I know about George, I'm going to say the same thing about the other George, this being Lucas. He would have definitely been on board with AI video because I believe it would have taken the power away from the studios, that producer oversight, that micromanaging that we all know that he hated. And I think it would have given him the freedom to create in a way that would allow him to be himself. And I think that would be something someone could do. Taking the script, obviously get good voice actors to do it. And the reason why I say this, it changed its name. Obviously, just kind of, 50 Shades of Grey, that shit. But I say it like this because we got the different animated films that are okay. There's the Welcome to Raccoon City movie, not very good. The Resident Evil television show that, again, like just kind of took the Resident Evil name and they added, kept a couple things, and then they just kind of did their own thing. And a lot of people get really mad when you have adaptations not following the goddamn source material. Well, Romero tried to follow the source material by making a little bit of it his own, but still sticking to the overall themes. And I think that's something that could be explored with artificial intelligence. But again, a lot of people aren't going to like that. I understand. I can already see the comment section. But if you're looking for a documentary that will give you a good insight into who George was, how beloved he was, the work he put into this, what happened with the studio, and ultimately what happened with the later years of his life, I highly recommend it. I have always loved Romero. One of my all-time favorite San Diego Comic-Con moments was back in 2007 when him and Max Brooks spoke for an hour and they kind of had a chat about zombies. And you can find that whole video, that whole interview on YouTube. And I'm going to go rewatch it because that was one of my most favorite moments ever. And I've been to a lot of Comic-Cons. So go check out this documentary. If you love Resident Evil, if you love George Romero, if you love Hollywood history, it's everything you could want in a documentary. So yeah, go see it. Let me know your thoughts. I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you again for watching. Have yourself a great night and peace out.